I was right about one thing. It is better than Morbius and Madame Web. But is it good? Well... Hey movie buffs, I'm Jack Benner, and welcome to my review of Venom: The Last Dance. Venom: The Last Dance is the third and final film in the Venom trilogy after Venom and Let There Be Carnage. This film is directed by Kelly Marcel, and Tom Hardy is returning to the role of Eddie Brock/Venom. In Venom 3, Eddie Brock/Venom, as always played by Tom Hardy, are on the run as fugitives. As they're on the run, they're hunted by both of their worlds, leading them to make a decision that could be the end of their symbiotic friendship. Before I get into my review of Venom 3, any new viewers coming across my channel for the first time, welcome to my channel. I am Jack Benner. I talk about movies on here. I do movie reviews. From time to time, I do some lists on here. So you like movie content? Like what you see so far? Definitely considering that like and subscribe button for more exciting movie content down the road. So if you've been following my channel for a long time, you would know I didn't like the first Venom movie. I do think Tom Hardy is good in that film, and I do like some of the banter between Eddie and Venom. And other things, one, the elevator scene was pretty freaking funny. And two, not gonna lie, I like the Eminem song. They're gonna taste my venom, 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 venom. They ain't gonna know what hit 'em. But that movie was just a paper-thin and watered-down comic book movie. It would be cool to see an R-rated Venom movie, but we get a PG-13 Venom movie with not that much blood and him biting people and people just like, look away, we can't show that. And that movie was tonally inconsistent, where it struggles to balance between dark and serious scenes, between silly and wacky, and they just don't blend well together. The action wasn't particularly exciting or memorable, and the final fight between Venom and Riot looked awful, taking place during nighttime, and I couldn't really see what was going on during that fight. And it's a total shame that that movie wasted two fantastic actors such as Riz Ahmed, who was miscast in that movie in a generic villain role, and Michelle Williams, who is a terrific and multiple Oscar nominations, but their talents in that movie felt wasted. And it's especially disappointing after watching Sound of Metal, what I think is one of the very best films of 2020. Please watch that movie. And Riz Ahmed was magnificent in that movie, and watching that movie, I was like, why did Marvel waste such a great and gifted actor in a boring villain role? And if you want to watch a much better Venom movie that came out in 2018, and one that came out a few months before Venom, and this one was made with a lower budget, please watch the movie Upgrade. That is kind of a similar movie to Venom, and both main actors do look alike, but that movie was more unique, beautifully shot, has amazing action, good drama, and a twist ending you will not see coming. And also has one of the most brutal kills I have ever seen in a movie. And if you've seen Upgrade, you'll likely know what scene I'm talking about. Takes place during the house, and all I can say is, holy shit. So please watch Upgrade, an awesome sci-fi action movie from 2018, if you've never seen it. One of the best films of that year. So if I were to grade Venom, I would give it a D+, not that good of a movie. And in 2021, after Venom grossed $800 million worldwide, we got a sequel that was delayed a year due to the pandemic, but Venom: Let There Be Carnage came out in theaters. I do think that's an improvement over the first Venom by a hair. Not that much of an improvement. I still don't like that film. Hardy is still entertaining at times, but I felt like Andy Serkis was more of a director for hire, and there really wasn't much of an interesting style for that movie, and the action was pretty forgettable. And I thought Woody Harrelson and Naomi Harris were both over the top, and I love Woody Harrelson, but I thought he was a bit miscast as Carnage. I didn't really think he was that menacing or sadistic enough as Carnage. I have been waiting forever to see Carnage on the big screen, but in Venom 2 just wasn't worth the wait, and in a PG-13 movie, big L. And Woody Harrelson was just more of a cartoon character. He was basically like, hi Eddie, I want some carnage in this world. I'm Carnage. So overall, not a very good comic book sequel and a pretty forgettable one. That one gets a C-. After not being impressed with both Venom movies as well as the Sony Universe of Spider-Man villains, whatever it's called, what's the name for it, I don't really care. Morbius was awful. That movie was so boring, dull, drab, and generic. And Madame Web was a straight up disaster. That movie is a big 0. I wasn't looking forward to this conclusion to Venom at all. I thought the trailers looked bad. But there is a part of me that thought, maybe I'll go in open-minded and enjoy this one. Could this be the best Venom movie? And now that I've seen Venom: The Last Dance opening night, now my review is here. I was busy for the past few days, couldn't get my review up in. My review is ready now. What are my thoughts on Venom 3? Is it the best Venom movie? No, it's more the same. Venom 3 is about as dull generic, lifeless, and boring of a finale as you can get. That just proves one thing: my fatigue with this Sony universe is at an all-time high, and this Sony universe needs to be put to rest now. And this just might be the worst Venom film in the trilogy. Just a pretty awful movie. To start with the pros, Tom Hardy as Eddie Brock / Venom, he's still enjoyable in this movie. I've always loved Tom Hardy ever since I first took notice of him back in Inception. And other Nolan movies I loved him in, Bane in The Dark Knight Rises and Dunkirk. And I loved him in other movies such as Warrior, Freaking Amazing, Lawless, good movie, Mad Max Fury Road, and his Oscar-nominated performance in The Revenant. Hardy is still committed to the role, and it does show that he does have a screenwriting and producing credit on this film, keeping intact some amusing interactions between Eddie and Venom. And there are a few enjoyable action and comedic scenes here and there. There is one waterfall action I did find some enjoyment in, and the climax of the movie is quite fun with a bunch of symbiotes. And I did laugh a few times, like 2 or 3. Anything else? The end credits are pretty cool. That's it. And now to the rest of the cons. My biggest problem with Venom 3, the story in this movie is an absolute mess. It tries to cramp too much into one movie. It tries to be an on-the-run story with Eddie and Venom, but then Null is on the rise and he's going to be escaping from his prison. There is a military subplot with these symbiotes, and just including a wacky family that's trying to get to Area 51, and these different subplots going on, and it just doesn't mesh well together into one movie. It does a poor job at juggling these subplots, making it feel tonally inconsistent. And just like its 2 predecessors, the issue still maintains here. This movie is tonally all over the place. It tries to have dark and serious moments, and then it also tries to be silly and wacky with Venom antics, making the story feel jumbled and incoherent. And most of the comedy in this movie just falls flat, and I wasn't really laughing that much, and the story isn't really that interesting, so I'm just more dozing off and just waiting for something interesting to happen or waiting for it to be over. And it is such a poorly paced movie where it feels both rushed and boring. The story is so rushed and disjointed where it doesn't have enough time for proper development, and that with the tonal inconsistencies just make for an incoherent movie. And in the second act with the on the run story where Eddie goes from here to there, that just part of the movie drags, where it just gets really boring and uninteresting. Aside from Hardy, who does have his moments, the rest of the performances in this movie are just dull. Chiwetel Ejiofor is in this movie, and he's a terrific Oscar-nominated actor. Please go watch 12 Years a Slave. His performance at the end of that movie made me cry. But here, he feels wasted in a one-dimensional supporting role, and it just felt like that movie just wasted his talents as an actor. I felt like he could have been played by anyone else, and it felt like he was just doing this movie for a paycheck. And this is his 3rd Marvel film, and I liked him as Mordo in the first 2 Doctor Strange movies, although I didn't really like what they did with Mordo in Multiverse of Madness. And I'm just wondering, why is Marvel wasting such a great actor like Chiwetel Ejiofor? And Juno Temple in a supporting role is just a bland and underwritten character with an underdeveloped backstory. And this one family in this movie, and the father is played by Rhys Ifans, who you remember played the Lizard in The Amazing Spider-Man, and they brought him back for Spider-Man No Way Home, which does feel kind of weird, same actor but a different character. But their inclusion just feels tacked on, like they're there for the climax. And what's especially disappointing, Null was very underutilized in this movie. And you have the phenomenal Andy Serkis in this movie, and this movie just wasted him. It would be a sin to waste Andy Serkis in a movie. And he's just mostly just in his prison that was like, "Bring me the Kodak." And he doesn't really do much. You just wasted Null in this movie. As for the action in this movie, it's mostly pretty generic and mundane, where it doesn't really feel particularly exciting by the numbers, and they also lack any interesting stakes to be invested in. And there are some action scenes in this movie that are poorly edited. Like there's this one fight scene where Venom is fighting a bunch of these guys who kidnap dogs. I swear the editing in that fight scene was terrible. Each shot lasted about 2 seconds, and it was just like cut, cut, cut. I could tell, wait, who's going on? Who hit who? Wait, what? And the visual effects in this movie are quite bad. There are some Venom symbiotes in this movie that look straight out of a video game, and it's so unappealing, along with the terrible and noticeable green screen in this movie that are poorly composited. Oh my god, the visual effects in this movie, it might just be the worst effects in the Venom movies. It looked that bad. And this movie just didn't have an emotional punch for me to truly care. There is a scene where Venom is in the Volkswagen with the wacky family, and there is one line that Venom says to Eddie,
"You see, Eddie, this is what our life could be like."
Okay, with that line, maybe there could be potential for an emotional moment there, but after that, it just gets dropped and goes nowhere of what Eddie and Venom's life could be, and they just don't do anything with that. It just felt like a shoehorned line for a half-assed emotional moment, and they do nothing with it. And as for the ending of the film, it's there, but I didn't really feel anything. It just felt whatever. To sum up, even with Hardy's commitment, Venom 3 is a dull, generic, lifeless, and boring finale to the Venom trilogy. The direction wasn't really anything to write home about. This movie has an incoherent story that's tonally inconsistent. The visual effects are bad. The action wasn't really that exciting, the performances were dull, and overall, this just felt like a frivolous and insignificant conclusion. I would recommend this movie to you if you're fans of the first two Venom movies and you're hoping to enjoy this one. I think you'll get some enjoyment out of this if you enjoyed the first two movies. And if you enjoyed this movie, or if you found the rest of the Venom movies to be enjoyable, that's wonderful. I'm really happy you had a blast with this movie and found it exciting. However, like me, if you didn't like the first two Venom movies and this one doesn't really look that good to you, it's not really going to change your mind. You can skip this one if you want. So as for a final verdict, I'd say just wait for rentals, streaming, or when it comes on Netflix. Not really a must-see in theaters right now. A few weeks after, Joker Folie à Deux immensely disappointed me, and the more I think about that movie, I might lower my grade from a C- to a D+ the more I think about that movie. It's just very frustrating. October 2024 was a pretty bad month for comic book movies. All I can really hope next year, hopefully Captain America Brave New World will be good next year. We'll see. With Sony and Spider-Man right now, all I can ask is, when the hell is Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse coming out? And now to grade it, I'm going to give Venom: The Last Dance 1 star out of 5, a D. While it's not as dull or drab as Morbius was, and nowhere near on the same level of catastrophic filmmaking and acting as Madame Web was, this was just an awful conclusion that proves this Sony Universe of Spider-Man villains is running out of gas. Kraven the Hunter is coming out this December. That movie looks generic, doesn't really look that good, even if it's rated R, and I do like Aaron Taylor Johnson. And I would be excited, but also the writers of that movie wrote Transformers: The Last Knight, Men in Black International, and Uncharted. I don't have a lot of high hopes for it. I think Sonic 3 is going to destroy that movie at the box office. Yeah, this Sony universe, it just got nowhere left to go, and it just needs to stop now. And if you want to see a Marvel movie this year that's way more exciting, heartfelt, hilarious, and satisfying, just watch Deadpool and Wolverine again. Much better movie. So I would like to hear from you guys. What do you guys think of Venom: The Last Dance? If you've seen it, do you agree, disagree with my review? Or if you haven't seen it, are you interested in seeing the film or not? Let me know down below. Did you enjoy hearing my thoughts on this movie? I want to see more reviews like this in the future. If yes, please hit that like and subscribe button if you're new here. And don't forget that notification bell for my next upload in the future. It really means a lot. My social media links will be in the description down below. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And if you would like to see my written reviews, I do have a Letterboxd account, so if you'd like to follow me on there as well. And until the next video, I'm Jack Benner, and look forward to another movie review.